Welcome to the Parkland Report. I'm Stephanie Stewart, Vice President for Communications and External Affairs here at Parkland College. And Parkland Report is the show where we talk to the people making things happen here at the college. Today I have two guests. One is Deane Geiken from WPCD Radio, as well as Adam Porter, who works with our Perimter Road Sound Recordings and lots of exciting music-related content. So welcome to the show, Deane.
Thanks for having me on.
So tell me a little bit about the radio station at Parkland.
Well, the radio station is, first and foremost, it's a learning lab, a hands-on learning lab for the students who are taking the COM 141 and 142 courses. After a series of practice shifts, they'll come on the air, usually around midterm, which is coming up very soon. The 141 students will come on and they'll be on the air, and they'll have a 2-hour shift, 1 day a week. And then if they're an advanced student, they'll be on basically from the beginning of the semester. And they add a real great flavor and personality to the radio station, unlike, I think, many other radio stations. There's a lot of radio stations in the area that, you know, all kind of sound the same. But with our DJs, the variety is through the roof.
So if I'm a community member and I want to tune in, what kind of music am I going to hear?
Alternative rock format with a little taste of punk. And we're also trying to add in some local music too. We've got a lot of local music and our artists in the community, and we're trying to bring them into the station a little bit to put some of their stuff on the air.
I know Adam's going to share a little bit about some Parkland artists.
Yes.
But I know before we came on the air, we were talking about some specialized shows that you've been doing as well. So there's kind of special content that pops in there in addition to the regular programs.
Right. Each student has kind of their own special way of doing their show, but we do have some specialty shows. We've got Adam's show in the morning on Mondays at 9 a.m. It's the analog hour, where he plays nothing but music that is on LPs or cassettes. And yes, we still have a turntable and a cassette player in the radio station. Not everything.
Got my wheels turning back to my first cassettes.
Right, right. We've also got an 80s alternative program that's on Saturday nights from 6 to 8 p.m. It's all the best in 80s alternative music. And then we've also got some smaller programs, like something that just started. It's called the Mental Health Minute, and that's on every Wednesday at 7:30 in the morning and 12:30 in the afternoon, and it's with a faculty member here at Parkland, Julie Berkey, and she does a really wonderful, very positive, spin-oriented mental health minute and a half. So you can catch that on Wednesday mornings at 7:30 and then at 12:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah, what I love about listening to WPCD is you can just listen to music that you like, but then you get this flavor of Parkland and all of the different kind of survey of things happening on campus. So what's it like to kind of get to share everybody's cool stuff that they're working on and relevant information for our students and community?
It's rewarding, to say the least. I mean, you've got all the creativity and the ingenuity of all these students who are coming in. As Adam and I like to say, when they do their production work and then they present it to us in class, it's kind of like Christmas for us because we get to hear all this really great stuff that they've produced, either for organizations in the community or for Parkland and the radio station itself. And so it's really quite great to be involved with all the students who are, one, it's nice to help them out and, guide them through. And as we said, it's a learning lab, a hands-on learning lab, but also it's just great to kind of sit back and just, just bask in the glory of their creativity. So.
Yeah, there's a sense of community around the radio station, and there's a long history of that, but it's always this sort of gathering place.
Right.
So can you talk a little bit about just what that's like with our students and what they find at the radio station beyond just the technical stuff?
Right. I mean, it's been a little withdrawn with the whole COVID and the pandemic a little bit, unfortunately, but it's starting to come back. We're trying to encourage those students to come in. There were times not that long ago where there would be 10 or 15 students in the lobby, in the studios, in the production rooms, in the workrooms, and they're working on stuff, but at the same time they're just sharing with each other what's happening in their days, what's happening in their classrooms and in their their classwork, but then they're also making plans to go out and socialize later in the evening. So they kind of build this camaraderie of sorts. And they may not have even known each other before the class. And we have a whole wall of pictures of these students who, just become friends, and they still stay in touch with each other, and they even come back to the radio station if they're still a Parkland student here, and they take on another shift, because it's a fun place to be.
It is a fun place to be, and I know you had a big anniversary a couple years ago.
Yes.
Can you talk about the celebration of that?
That was our 40th anniversary, and that took place in 2018, and we invited a lot of the former students and some of the people who worked with the station, Dan Hughes, Jerry Brock, well, Steve Brown was not able to make it. Just a number of people, and we just all came back together. I was a student here at Parkland College when I was first entered into higher education, and it was great to meet all these people from what started in '78 to 2018. You had students who were current students meeting people who were on the air in the late '70s, sharing things, and some of them were ribbing each other back and forth like, do you even know what a turntable is? You know, our students do.
Yeah, they do. Well, it's coming, all of that's coming back. I'm sure Adam
Yes.
experiences that too and may share a little bit about it when we talk with him as well. And so where are our students preparing for? Because I have a background in media, not broadcast specifically, but background in media, just the kind of community that really develops around that. But what are our students preparing to do once they like take your course or they have experience with the radio station? Where has that led them?
The idea, besides being a good on-air personality, is also to teach them to think quickly on their feet, you know, to be a good, concise, and clear communicator. But there's also a lot of things that we instruct them in the class, more than just microphone techniques and stuff like that. There's interviewing techniques, there's audio production techniques, and just basically a jack of all trades. Even do a little bit of audio drama and, you know, radio drama production, podcasting, and things like that, so that when they leave the course, yes, they've had 2 semesters on the air, but they've also got a lot of other things in their portfolio that they can take to a future employee or employer and say, this is what I've done and this is what I can do. So it's more than just being a DJ. There's a lot more to it, because radio is just one aspect of the whole multimedia world that we're in right now.
Yeah, I found that as a communicator myself, I've found that diverse skill set is just really useful,
Right.
In a variety of settings, or even just business settings, to be able to think on your feet and communicate and have those conversations. So I know we'll talk about Perimter Road a bit, but how does the radio station kind of fit into that and help our students in some of the co-curricular aspects?
Well, some of the students who are on the radio station are also involved in the music production class, and they're sometimes also involved with the recording label. So that helps, because there's some familiarity between, you know, working between the 2 groups. But let's say that we've got a new artist who is getting ready to release something. We like to give the opportunity to the DJ to bring that artist in the studio, interview them on the air, premiere their music. It's kind of a thrill for both the DJ and the artist, because their music is being played on the radio. Sometimes local musicians never get that chance to do that, and we want to be able to provide that opportunity for them. So we do a lot of work. We also do a lot of promotion work for the record label, things like that. So it does work, you know, it goes hand in hand. We try to support each other as best we can.
Great. I know that we can listen in our cars over the air, but there's also the streaming capability,
Right.
which I know you and I've talked a lot about
Yeah.
it over the years. But can you tell folks where they can listen streaming online?
Right. Our stream is, you can listen to it anywhere in the world. If you've got a smart device or a computer or anything like that, it's parkland.edu/WPCD. Hit the Listen Now button, and you can also download an app on your phone. I was just looking at some of our stuff, and it's really great. I mean, I know that most people here in the United States listen to us, and it's Champaign-Urbana is our biggest listening audience. But then we've also got a great listening audience in, like, Pittsburgh, of all places.
Pittsburgh.
Right.
They can come to Parkland if they want.
Yeah.
Take an online class.
But then the international listening audience, it's interesting because the Philippines is always like in the top 3.
Huh.
Who'd have thought?
Interesting.
But I
Maybe
think it's
there's a
great.
pocket of former Parkland
Who knows?
students or
Yeah.
something else.
Or you get, logins from Belarus or Germany or someplace like that. It's kind of cool to know that our students are being listened to by people across the world.
That's very cool. Deane, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We'll go ahead and take a break, and we'll be back with Adam Porter.
Well, today we're celebrating the 40th anniversary of WPCD, so we're inviting the alumni, past faculty and staff to come and celebrate with us and celebrate 40 years of broadcast excellence here at Parkland College on WPCD.
I started here at Parkland in 1981. I retired in 2007. And the station went on the air 40 years ago. We are celebrating our 40th anniversary now. I got invited back to see a lot of students I probably haven't seen in 30 years. I taught the basic radio class, and to me, the best thing about that is, first of all, people seem to enjoy it a lot, and you can't blame them because it's not math or English or something. I think what makes me happiest is so many of the students I had that went on to do something else. Now, most people who take broadcasting classes are not going to make a career of it. It's showbiz, and you've got to have talent and get the breaks, and there's no money in it until you're in a bigger city. So a lot of people took the class, had fun, enjoyed it, and then went off to something else, which is fine, because with the basic radio broadcasting class, I feel like even if you're never going to go into business, it really builds your self-confidence.
With the help of a student intern and Jason Hayes, the audio production guy, we tweaked the format, and what we did is we actually brought the radio station kind of to the forefront. We actually got mentioned in 2015 in the ratings book, and we were dead last, number 33 out of 33. But then in this last ratings book that came out, we're actually number 14. So I think that we're actually being heard by a lot more people. We're resonating with the community, which is really the goal of the radio station, is to, be the voice of Parkland. What I really enjoy the most is working with the students. They have got such enthusiasm, creativity, and just a love for, trying to be the best they can when they're on the radio. Even if they never go out into radio after they get done with Parkland College, I think that they've really added something to their time here.
Welcome back from the break. We're joined now by Adam Porter, communication faculty member and advisor to Perimter Road Sound Recordings. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
So tell us a little bit about your role. We were just having a conversation during the break that you wear so many hats and do so many things at Parkland. So tell us a little bit about you and your role at the college.
So my main role here is a faculty member. I teach a lot of classes. I teach all the recording classes, all the radio classes, as well as a number of other communication courses. I got a few new classes in the works as well. But in addition to that, I'm obviously involved with the radio station quite a bit, being the instructor of those classes. So I work very closely with Deane, with the learning lab and the experience there at the station, not only in the on-air studio, but in the production studios. And in addition to that, one of the things that I truly just love so much about my job is that I'm the faculty advisor for Perimter Road Sound Recordings, which is our student-staffed on-campus record label.
Well, let's maybe start with that. Let's start with Perimter Road, because I know that's something that a lot of folks in the community get to know Parkland through, and it's a really cool co-curricular activity for students. But tell us all about Perimter Road, maybe how it started. Sure. And how students are involved.
Okay, so Perimter Road Sound Recordings, like I said, is a student-staffed record label right here at Parkland. We have our own recording studio in the C Wing. So when I first started working here at Parkland, I was hired as a communication faculty. I made it very clear that I was very interested in music recording. I would love to bring a class like that onto campus. And I actually found out that there was a music recording type of class in the past, and they actually went off campus to a recording studio in the community. And then when that faculty member left and went to Nashville, that class went away. So I saw that as a perfect opportunity to bring a class like that back, but re-envision it as let's build a studio right here on campus. Let's give students access to the gear that they're going to see out in the real world. So, that's kind of how it started. Was we built the studio, and very quickly I had tons of support from the department and the college for this idea of a record label, a co-curricular experience that built on what students were doing in the classroom. So the idea of Perimter Road is you get a student in the recording class who's really enjoying everything that they're learning, but they want to do more than just class projects. And the idea with the label is we sign real artists from the Champaign-Urbana community, which we have an amazingly talented music community here in Champaign-Urbana. And every semester we sign either an artist or a band, and the students record, mix, and master those albums completely by themselves with our guidance. And those are then released and distributed globally. And you can listen to all of our stuff on Spotify, Apple Music. And these are, I think, not only super valuable experiences for students to have here at Parkland to better prepare them for their careers, but it's also huge when it comes to their resume to have those extra lines and say, I was an engineer on this album, and you can go listen to it on Spotify right now. Or, I designed the cover, or I helped the event planning for the music festival. All of these things are, ways that students can show potential employers that they're really into what they're doing and they are willing to go above and beyond the minimum requirements of just getting a degree. So just trying to provide those experiences here for students. But it's also important that, as you mentioned when you kind of preface the question, it's also a way for Parkland to connect with the community. So I see it as a really cool way for us to just kind of bridge those two pieces of what the cool things we're doing here at Parkland and all of the talent that's out there in the Champaign-Urbana community.
Yeah, it's so awesome, and it's really great to see the excitement and the engagement from the students, because they're students interested in music, so it's like they found an avenue and can maybe go on to this future career. We were talking a little bit about your artist that you have right now, but can you tell us about that artist and then maybe some of your past bands and artists that the group has worked with?
Absolutely. So we're currently working with Annika Emily. She is a local Champaign-Urbana-based singer-songwriter, extremely talented. You can catch her performing live weekly around town. And we've worked with her prior. So as part of our singles series that we did a couple of years ago, we signed her to do a single song called The Finish Line. And honestly, one of my favorite songs that we've ever done with the label. We loved working with her so much that we said, hey, let's do a whole album. And she was definitely on board for that. So last semester, we recorded that entire album, so all the tracks are done and in Pro Tools. The students are now working very hard on mixing and mastering that, which is the process of what happens after you record the track. So we have to do a lot of fancy stuff to make it turn into a finished, polished, professional-sounding song. So that's what we're doing right now, with plans of releasing her album in December by the end of the semester.
That's awesome. Yeah, it'll be exciting to see that come. And you mentioned that some of the students are studio musicians on her album too.
Yes. So
which is another interesting role, like maybe not out front, but behind the scenes.
Absolutely. So we've had so many talented students be a part of the label over the years. We're in our 6th year now as Perimter Road here at Parkland. And like you mentioned, some of the students are actually very talented musicians. And a big part of making music in the music industry is session musicians or studio musicians. So when you have somebody like an Adele or a Taylor Swift, a singer-songwriter, they're going to be bringing in bass players and drummers and guitarists, etc., to play these parts for the songs. And we do the same thing at Perimter Road. So a lot of our students might not be the artist that's on the cover of the release, but they're in the credits. And not only might they have engineered or mixed it, but they might have actually played some instruments on the album as well.
That's great. And there's also a place for promotion in it too. So students that maybe aren't musically inclined or aren't mixing the album, there's a role for them. Can you describe what they might help with?
Absolutely. So one thing I like to stress to anybody who asks me about the label is that you don't have to be a musician. You don't even have to be interested in recording engineering or mixing, because there are so many things that go into successfully running a record label. One of them you just mentioned, which is marketing and promotion. We can do all sorts of cool stuff, but if nobody knows that it's out there or where to find it, then we're not, fulfilling our goals. So in addition to the recording and the mixing and the production, we spend a lot of time on social media and poster designs and marketing campaigns and connecting with local media outlets. We've gone on WCIA and had students interviewed on television, and basically whatever we can do to give students all the experiences that go into a record label. So that includes not only making music, but event planning, organization, communication with the artists, and all the marketing, promotion, design, and all of those other elements that go into it as well.
Yes.
So
yeah, the whole music business in and of itself. And you guys also, you mentioned event planning and things like that. So can you talk about the music festival? I know we had, there's a pandemic in the middle of some things, but tell me about that and share that with our viewers.
Yes, so we did the first ever Perimter Road Music Festival at the end of the spring, right before COVID hit, and the following year when we were planning to do our second one. But the first one was amazing. The idea was we wanted to expand what we were doing with the label, expand our palette to a live event planning and live music festival experience for the students. So this turned into a 2-semester project, really, where the first semester was a lot of planning and booking bands and crossing our T's and dotting our I's as far as booking stages and food trucks and all of this kind of stuff. And we ended up having 7 bands one Saturday on campus right here at Parkland. The students set up the stage, set up the mics, mixed the entire show. There was a different student for each band, so 7 different students got to mix live at that festival, and it was just a really cool experience. So, as you mentioned, and as everybody knows, the pandemic has kind of put a hold on a lot of things, and it put a hold on the music festival for 2 years now, but we are in the works of planning and crossing our fingers and toes for the end of this upcoming spring semester, version 2 of the Perimter Road Music Festival right here at Parkland College. So we'll be bringing in a bunch of new awesome Champaign-Urbana acts, bands, and artists, and they'll be performing right here on campus. And we'll be inviting the community to come see all the cool stuff we're doing.
Yeah, I'm going to keep my fingers crossed too. That'll be really exciting to bring it. It's been nice this year, and we've talked in past episodes of this show how it's like nice to be back. We're bringing things back and all the new things being incorporated, and this is just another sign of being back. And
yes,
that's stuff that is really meaningful, and it's what makes Parkland a great place to be.
Absolutely.
So the music business, you have a new course.
Yes.
And so all about music business.
That's correct.
Tell me about the new course and what students will learn.
So it's called Intro to Music Business, as you might have guessed, and it is all about all that other stuff that's not recording engineering, mixing, mastering, Pro Tools, knobs, buttons in the studio. It's all the other stuff. So what goes into running a record label? What does a recording contract look like? What are the different kinds of contracts? What's the difference between a conventional versus a 360 deal? How does music copyright work? How do you license songs? How do you make money off of songs that you're publishing? There are so many, and that's just like brushing the surface. There's just so many things that students who are honestly interested in entering the music industry, whether as an artist, an engineer, somebody doing promotion, an A&R, just working for a label, you need to have a great foundational understanding of all the aspects that go into the music industry. So this is the class that's trying to build that foundational knowledge for the students, where they're like, oh wow, I didn't realize a song has 2 copyrights, one for the written song and one for the recording. Just little things like that that are very important for somebody to know when they enter into this industry. So I'm very much looking forward to it, and I think it'll be a really great add-on for those students who are getting the hands-on in studio experiences.
Yeah, students find their way to Parkland for all sorts of different reasons, and I feel like this is just another area where you've really built this into a destination for a student that may not otherwise find a fit, but this could be their thing, right?
Yeah.
And then how do you make that thing successful and translate into next steps?
Absolutely.
We also talked about, the communication skills to become just a well-rounded kind of professional and maybe launch your career in one direction or the other.
Yes.
Where do you see students that are coming through your courses or coming through Perimter Road? What kinds of careers are they pursuing afterward?
Well, there's lots of careers in the media industry. So the media industry is very wide and broad, and it's changing drastically every day. The internet and social media and new technologies are really changing not only what types of jobs are available, but what the old jobs do now, right? So a traditional broadcast job is different these days. They're going to expect you to be able to do more, and that's the number one thing that I stress. Whether a student is looking for a job as an on-air personality, whether they're looking for a job as an assistant engineer to get their foot door at a recording studio, they're looking for a job at a television station, running cameras, directing, etc., doing the sound for it especially. All of those different career paths require somebody who is not just singularly focused on one specific skill. So I always tell my students, if your goal is to be a DJ, yes, spend a lot of time doing on-air work, but you got to understand that you need to be more than just a DJ. You need to be a good writer. You need to be able to produce spots like promos and commercials. You need to be able to do promotion and marketing. If you can do video editing, then they're like, oh wow, this person who's going to be doing our audio production could also do a video thing for us if we need to. What you're trying to do is make yourself more valuable to the potential employer. And so that's what the media arts and production degree and most of the classes that I'm teaching are all about, is that I try to stress that these are all interconnected, and you're learning these skills and you're learning these skills, and we're trying to combine them all together so we can say, I'm a media professional. I'm not a DJ, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a public relations specialist. I'm a media professional, and I can do this, 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 and this. That's what's going to help a student succeed and find those opportunities in the media industry these days.
Yeah. So if someone wants to find more information about your program or about Perimter Road, where can they visit you?
Well, there's a number of places you can go. So if you're interested in learning about the program, I would just recommend going to Parkland's website, parkland.edu, and we have a special page for our department, which is Fine and Applied Arts. So all the cool stuff we're doing is in the Fine and Applied Arts department, and some of that is specifically in the communications program. And then for Perimter Road, as I mentioned before, all of our stuff's streaming out there on all of the major streaming platforms, though some people might not know what to search, what artists we've signed, what albums we've put out, etc. So great landing point that I like to direct people to as kind of a first place to see, here's all of the stuff we've done, here's all the albums we've recorded and released, is our Bandcamp page. Okay. So perimterroad.bandcamp.com. You can go there, you can see every album we've released, listen to them, you can actually download the albums there, and then if you find one that you like, you can go find it on Apple Music or Spotify and add it to your playlist.
That's great. I'm going to add it to my bookmarks and
there we go
check out some new music this afternoon.
Awesome.
Well, Adam, thank you very much for being on the show.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, that's it for this episode of the Parkland Report. We appreciate you taking the time to watch and learn about some awesome things happening at Parkland College. We hope you'll check out WPCD and check out Perimter Road Sound Recordings, as well as our Fine and Applied Arts page where you can find all the courses that were mentioned today. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.